And if you see other prayers that he wrote, the Govindashtakam prayers and Jagannatashtakam he wrote, all of those, yeah, yes, just to start, yes, yes, yep. Advaita teachings were just to attract people to give up atheism, at least come to Vedas.
And also his what if you see the tattva down there, okay, he thought about Advaita. So we are one with God in quality. So that is partial truth, but not the full truth. But we are in a difference in the quantity. And that's what with Advaita, Shuddha Advaita, where it comes with Dvaita, Shuddha Dvaita, and all Vishishta Dvaita. So the other acharyas, Ramanujacharya, Madhvacharya, now Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, they gave more and more finer elaboration of the description between the difference between the God and the jivas. And the last philosophy that the tattva or the is given by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, which is Achinte Bheda.
So after Shankaracharya came and he gave the Advaita philosophy, so now the concept in the society is that we are one with God, right? We are same as God, we can become God and things like that. Then comes Ramanujacharya. So Ramanujacharya, he gave Vishishtadvaitavad, which is specific monism, which means he told that yes, Jiva is same with God, but he is different also. But he did not elaborate much on the difference part. So when that happened, what he did, then the Shankara people at least became a little bit favorable towards it, because Ramanujacharya, it appeared as if his philosophy was emphasizing more on the similarity rather than dissimilarity. So he found a little support with the Mayavadis from the Shankara school also. After that, Madhvacharya came. Now, this was a point where he very, very specifically, very, very strongly emphasized on the difference between Jiva and God. Very clearly, he has said, very outright, he was very direct, he said, Jiva can never be equal to God. And then further in the line, we will see today, Lord Chaitanya came, he further refined it. He gave much more better interpretation. He completely defined what is the difference and what is the similarity. He said similarity is in quality and difference is in quantity. So that's the most refined and most elaborate understanding that we have so far. So this is how it evolved. The Vaishnava culture evolved over the centuries in this way actually. Okay, so as we saw, this Brahma Madhva Gaudiya Sampradaya is actually, it's a part of Madhva Sampradaya. And since, each guru can have many disciples have their own disciples, so we have many branches. And this is Brahma Madhva Gaudiya Sampradaya is one of the branches of Madhva Sampradaya itself. And this is very, very special because Chaitanya Mahaprabhu appeared here. Okay, so now one more question. So if there is some person who is very spiritual, very popular, have a lot of followers, and the followers claim him to be God, then how would you accept or not accept? On basis of what would you accept or reject him as God? Yeah, opulence is God. Okay. And what else?
There are 5 qualities.
Six
opulences. 6 opulences of Bhagavan. Yeah. Anything else? Exactly. Yes. That's correct. So any incarnation, for us to accept anybody as an incarnation of God, that reference must be there at least in one place, somewhere in the scriptures. So if we apply that same thing here, in the Brahma Madhva Gaudiya line, we all accept Lord Chaitanya as an incarnation of Krishna himself. It's not whimsically, it's not out of sentiment, there is reference from the Shastras.
Even before his appearance.
Even much before his appearance. So he appeared in, what is 1437? 1437. In the early 15th century he appeared. And these are some of the references in the Shastra where where Lord Krishna has himself spoken actually. In Garuda Purana it says, in the first part of Kali Yuga, I will appear in my complete spiritual form in Mayapur, Navadvip, and become the son of Shachimata. If you see, Lord Chaitanya was born in Bengal, in the place named Mayapur. And his parents were Sachi Devi and Purandar Jagannath Mishra. These were the names of his parents. And when he came, he appeared in a golden form, golden complexion. His body, limbs were all in golden in color. And he appeared in the month of Falgun. And he took sannyas at the age of 24. You know, he was a householder earlier. He had two wives. First he married Lakshmi Priya. Then she died, and then he again married on the request of his mother. He married Vishnu Priya. So he was a householder for the first 24 years, and then at the age of 24 he took sannyas. And then he inaugurated the congregational chanting of the holy names. He was always surrounded by his associates. So these are some of the characteristics of Lord Chaitanya, and all these characteristics are actually mentioned. There are lots of references, like we just picked few of them. So this is the place where he has revealed that he is going to appear in Mayapur, right?
Even that time, that name Mayapur also was not there actually. The Mayapur has evolved it over the time actually.
Yeah.
And Garuda Puran is the conversation, I think some of you might have read, is the conversation between Lord Vishnu and Garuda. Talks about all the death and after the hellish planets and everything.
Yeah. So in the same Purana, again, he says, in the first part of Kali Yuga, the Supreme Lord in golden complexion will become the husband of Lakshmi. Then he will become a sannyasi and reside near Lord Jagannath. So after taking sannyas, Lord Chaitanya actually spent the rest of his life in Jagannath Puri.
So 24 years in Navadvip, Mayapur, and 24 years in Jagannath.
So all these things are already given actually, and Lord Chaitanya actually fits.
So one more reference.
Yeah. The Supreme Lord who took delight in his pastimes with the gopis, who filled the residents of Vrindavan with joy day and night, who slew Kamsa and who made friends with the Pandavas in the battle between the Kauravas, will without any doubt come again to this earth. He will be a sannyasi with the name Chaitanya, whose arms will be decorated with a bamboo stick. So his name is there, name has been given, parents' name, the place where he will appear, everything is given in the Shastras. Next one.
Now, this is coming from very famous prayers.
This is there in Vishnu
Vishnu
Sahasranama.
Sahasranama. Vishnu Sahasranama is what? 1000 names of Lord Vishnu.
Here it clearly says, in his early pastimes, his complexion is golden. His limbs are color of molten white gold. His body is extremely beautiful. He is decorated with the sandalwood pulp. He accepts the sannyas and shows equanimity. He is peaceful. His mind is always fixed on Krishna, and thus he is nishtha, or fixed in performing the great sacrifice of the holy name of Krishna. He is therefore an abode of highest spiritual peace and devotion. So all these are actually given, and then final reference, even in Srimad Bhagavatam, it is there.
Which was spoken 5000 years or 4500 years before Chaitanya's Mahaprabhu.
In the age of Kali, intelligent persons perform congregational chanting by worshipping the incarnation of Godhead, who constantly sings the holy name of Krishna. So when Lord Chaitanya was here, he was only singing constantly, incessantly he was singing the names of Lord, and he was inducing everybody to sing the holy names of Krishna. Although his complexion is not blackish, he is Krishna himself. He is accompanied by his associates, servants, weapons, and confidential companions. So, it's perfectly all these references, and there are many more actually. There are many more references of him, which are there in the Shastras. The only thing is that there is not a direct reference, because this is called a hidden incarnation. Because Lord Chaitanya wanted to taste what Radharani feels when she serves him. So Krishna thinks Krishna is the supreme enjoyer, right? But he sees that his devotees are having more fun in serving him than he himself. Obviously every time we discuss this, right? The servitor feels more joy than the served, right? So Krishna wants to actually see, oh, why they are all mad after me. I also want to experience that, what attraction they have for me. So that's why he comes as a form of a devotee. And when he comes as a devotee, he is experiencing what devotees feel about Krishna. And I mean, that is much more superior than what Krishna feels when everybody is offering things to him, right? And that's the reason. So if people knew he was God, he wouldn't be able to enjoy all those things, right? People will treat him as God. But he wanted people to treat him as a devotee of Lord, and he wanted to teach by example. And that's why it's called he is called a hidden incarnation.
The prophecy or later?
So our line is actually, Madhva line is very, very special because Lord himself has appeared in this line actually, the line of Brahma Madhva Sampradaya. Yeah. So while Lord Chaitanya was here, he made certain prophecies actually.
This is made in Chaitanya Mangal.
So yeah, while he was here, he made this prophecy. He said, taking the sharp sword of congregational chanting of holy name, I will root out and destroy the demoniac mentality in the hearts of conditioned soul. If some sinful people escape and giving up religious principles go to far-off countries, then my commander-in-chief or Senapati Bhakta will appear to chase them and distribute Krishna consciousness.
Who is that? Senapati.
Srila Prabhupada.
Yeah, so we have
Prabhupada stays along.
yeah, we ran away, but
Yeah. Do you have the another one also? He also said, Prithvi Tyacha Nagaradigram. So on the face of this earth, in every town and village, my name will be chanted. That's a prophecy he made, and actually it is becoming a reality now. Even if not in all cities and towns, every major city and town has the presence of Krishna consciousness. Actually, every continent, even countries like Russia, China, it's spreading like wildfire everywhere. Actually, so this is, we can see it's all a part of a divine plan. Whatever is happening. Anything else?
this is the words that she quoted.
In every town and village.
This is Lord Chaitanya himself telling.
Any questions?
Does he know that, I mean, did he express himself as this Krishna? Because in that line
Yeah.
he says,
Yes.
my name will be
Yes. If we read his pastimes, there are many times that he has manifested the form of Radha and Krishna. Once he has manifested the form of Radha and Krishna. Once he manifested a
Son of God.
6-armed form. In 2 arms he was holding the paraphernalia of Krishna, flute. In 2 arms he was holding the paraphernalia of Ram, bow. And in other 2 hands he was holding the paraphernalia of a sannyasi, which he was himself. The pot and the danda. So he has manifested as a form of Nrsimha. He has manifested the form of Varaha. If we see, all these are very confidential. They were very confidential when he was here, but after his disappearance, after he winded up his pastimes here, his disciples have revealed all these things actually. Yeah. This actually happened in
This
the
happened.
banks of Godavari.
This happened in Andhra.
That pastime.
This past time, this is Ramanand Roy. He is none other than
He was in Rajahmundry, right?
Rajahmundry.
So is it not Koburu Prabhu? Somebody said not Pitapuram? This is near Pitapuram?
There is a special temple, so people they have certain time, they go there.
And this is the
I'm
sub.
not aware of it, but
Okay.
This is Sadbhuja form.
yeah.
And if you go to even Jagannath Puri, in the main temple, when you enter it, one of the altars is of Lord Chaitanya, where he showed his Sadbhuja form. And so in the form of Krishna, Rama, even doing the Kamandalu.
His own.
His own. Okay.
So next, disciplic succession.
I have one question. Yeah, this referred to it is equally open to all people who was like in Kali. There is a Kali avatar and people are trying to. There are some
Kalki. Yeah.
Kalki is there. So it is there is a reference in my past time and in Veda saying that there will be a Kalki avatar. People, I don't know how the reference is like, but there is a Kalki who is saying
Right.
I'm God. So still that now we are here we are trying to estimate saying there is a reference and but people who have been other way also they are showing up themselves with that details and there is a avatar of them.
So, but that is said that Kalki will appear at the end of Kali.
Yeah.
So that
We
is
have
not
still
That's not using that name.
420,000 years yet to have passed before the Kalki avatar is going to appear.
I am not saying that he is, but
Yeah.
people are trying to
no, because they are ignorant, right? Because if for Kalki, it is given that he will appear in the city of Shambhala, which is in Orissa, and his parents' names are also given.
This is also Kashmir.
Orissa. That's what I remember actually. Shambhala or Sambalpur, some around that place.
there is no Kalki.
Yeah.
Andhra.
And then it's also given, right? His complexion. He'll be whitish in complexion. He'll be riding a white horse with a sword. And he'll be relentlessly chopping off everybody's head, right? Like the present Kalki avatar, you can nowhere do that. Yeah, because at the end of Kali Yuga, it will be so degraded. There's no other way to clean it up. Because he has to clean up everything and establish Satyuga again. Right? Because Kali Yuga is ending, next cycle begins. Satyuga has to begin. So Kalki's job is to establish that thing again. That's why he comes down. And that time people are so fallen, there is no preaching. No preaching will work. Yeah. And again, that time he should fit any incarnation should fit all these descriptions that are given in the Shastras. Plus our another thing, right? We also read 6 opulences. That is a checkpoint. Always that's a checkpoint for us to.
It's basically Prabhupada says that if somebody wants to get fooled, they will get fooled. If somebody wants to get cheated, they will get cheated by these cheating gods. So, unless until they have the complete understanding of the Shastras, so they will always be fooled. Okay, so we'll move on. We'll finish off the disciplic succession. So after Lord Chaitanya, you can see 25 is Rupa.
23.
Sorry,
yes.
23. I'm sorry. Yeah. So this is 6 Goswamis of the Vrindavan.
So Lord Chaitanya's, there are 6 Goswamis. They were the direct and the most intimate followers of Lord Chaitanya. So couple of them, Lord Chaitanya personally initiated them. So he revealed his mood, his mission, his feelings, everything to them. So he personally did not leave anything in writing, but he instructed and empowered these 6 personalities to do that thing for all of us. So they were all, Rupa Goswami, Sanatan Goswami. Rupa Goswami is considered to be the head actually. And Rupa and Sanatana Goswami were prolific writers. They have given us so many books actually. So their job, the Goswami's job, was to scrutinizingly read all the Vedas and bring out the essential things for us. And they have presented it in their own books. And they also discovered the pastimes of Radha and Krishna in Vrindavan. So all those places were lost. It's been almost 4,000 or 5,000 years since Krishna wrote up his pastimes there, right? So all those places, all that knowledge was lost completely. So they are the people who have excavated all the places. Radha Kund, Sham Kund, they discovered and they
Established so many temples.
they
Even in
established-
Vrindavan, they are known as 6 Goswami temples actually. They all have established many temples in Vrindavan, which are very famous.
Yeah, and they were all come from a very aristocratic background, very scholarly people, born in high, some of them are born in high Vaishnava families, like Gopal Bhatta Goswami, he's from Sri Sampradaya, actually. He is from Sri Rangam. And he actually changed his life. He followed Lord Chaitanya. Actually, here we have somebody from their family lineage. They live in Redmond actually. They come to the temple also from Gopal Bhatta Goswami's lineage. Yes, his great granddaughter.
What is the definition for Goswami?
So goes. Okay, go ahead.
Go means senses, and Swami means one who can control.
Yes.
Yeah. And go also means that. Sorry, go also means cow also. Sorry.
Is it not the same as sannyas?
Yeah, Swamis. So the short form is Sanya, Swami.
Swami. Swami actually means one who has conquered with his senses. Yeah. No,
It is the one of the four Vaishnavas.
Yeah, and it's the like one of the sampradayas that are very active now, actively preaching now. You know?
So this is the Sri Sampradaya, Lakshmi Sampradaya. The four authentic bona fide Sampradayas.
And then Jiva Goswami was the youngest of all Goswamis, and Prabhupada says he is the most intelligent person in the whole universe. He was, and he has given so many books. Actually, he has written so many books.
Yeah.
And then next is Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami. He was the one who wrote Chaitanya Charitamrita, is the most accurate and authentic biography of Lord Chaitanya. So he studied under the Raghunath Das Goswami, who lived with Lord Chaitanya in Jagannath Puri. So he has, under his guidance only, this biography came about. And then next is Narottam Das Thakur. So again, there are many links that are not mentioned here. There are only the prominent acharyas basically. So Narottam Das Thakur, again he studied the scriptures. He further studies the scriptures that were written under Jiva Goswami, and he was the one who actually first started spreading the
Book distribution.
book distribution. He was the one who first started. If you see right now in ISKCON, you can see many ISKCON devotees going out distributing books. But the first book distribution ever was done by Narottam Das Thakur. That time there were no printing presses, nothing. So his disciples would make copies by hand and they put them in carts and go from kingdom to kingdom and give that out. And then yes, so our study group is named after Narottam Das Thakur.
Yeah.
So,
Yes.
so there are multiple batches of these Bhagavad Gita studies happened, or it's still going on, because we were part of the Gauranga group. I think the first group that started, and then so there are multiple batches going on. So all the groups are named after all the acharyas. So we got the name Narottam, and most of the Vaishnava songs that we sing in the temple is from Narottam Das Thakur. The songs are full in praise of Radha and Krishna and full in the mood of devotion. So some of these Vaishnava songs, you should read some of the translations. They have the complete philosophy in a very small nutshell. Actually.
Yes.
There is a book I have, if you want, I can lend this book. There is a book on Narottam Das Thakur, Shyamananda Pandit. Some of the prominent names are not mentioned, but if you read their pastimes, your hair will stand on. So I have one copy. I can lend that, and So you can read it visually. Even on there is a very beautiful book on six Goswamis, which is online. I can send it. All the what we mentioned is not even a tip of the iceberg. Actually. We were just rushing through this disciplic succession. If you read, because all they were confidential servants of, they were known as Manjaris. All the Goswamis, they descended from the spiritual world actually. They were serving the Ashtasakhis. Radha and Krishna, they are served by Ashtasakhis, and Ashtasakhis are served by Manjaris. So all they were Manjaris in the spiritual world actually.
Then next in line is Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. He lived during the 1600-1700 time frame. So he was considered around that time he was considered the protector and guardian of Gaudiya Vaishnavism. Again, he also wrote many bhajans that we sing in his song, and he further wrote commentaries on Goswami's books. Then the next prominent personality we have is Baladev Vidyabhushan. So Baladev Vidyabhushan, actually he studied under Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, and actually there is a very nice pastime. Baladev's Vidyabhushan's contribution is very, very great to our sampradaya. So as we saw earlier, the four sampradayas, right? So for every sampradaya has a commentary on Vedanta Sutra. So unless some sampradaya has a commentary on Vedanta Sutra, nobody considers it as a bona fide sampradaya. So in our Gaudiya line, there was no commentary. Because Lord Chaitanya said, Vyasadeva already gave a commentary, Srimad Bhagavatam. Srimad Bhagavatam is a commentary of Vedanta Sutra, and that is perfect. We don't need anything else. And so Gaudiya Vaishnavas accept Vyasadeva's Srimad Bhagavatam as the natural commentary on the Vedanta Sutra. They don't think anything more was required. So at the time, in Jaipur, there were some followers of...
So before that, when the Goswamis established the temples in Vrindavan, the Mughal invasion happened. And just to protect the deities, all the deities moved from, I think, the king of Jaipur requested, because he was the only powerful king at that point of time, so he moved most of the deities, he couldn't move the temple, but most of the deities from Vrindavan to the Jaipur. So now the deities which Goswamis had are there in Jaipur. So that's when Baladev Vidyabhushan was in Jaipur.
Yeah. So now some followers of Ramanujacharya, they said your line doesn't have a commentary on Vedanta Sutra, so your sampradaya is not bona fide. So at that time, actually, King of Jaipur was very, very favorable towards Lord Chaitanya and his followers, and he requested, these people are forcing me to declare you as a non-bona fide sampradaya. What to do? And at that time, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur was the head of the Gaudiya Vaishnava line, but he was too old to travel and engage in debates and other things. So he instructed Baladev Vidyabhushan to go and face the Ramanandis or followers of Ramanujacharya. So they sat in a debate, and Baladev Vidyabhushan could easily win over them. Yet, still they said, we need a commentary to establish that you are a bona fide sampradaya. And he was given very less time, a month's time?
Yeah, less than
a month's time to write a commentary. And it is said that most of the time, those time that he was given, most of the time he spent in praying to Govindji, in the temple of the Goswami, one of the temples.
So when Baladev Vidyabhushan was asked to write the commentary, he went to Govindji, the deities, and he said, I am foolish, I don't know anything about this, what should I do? Then Govindji came into his dreams and he said that you come to me, I will dictate you and you just write it, so that your Vedanta Sutra will be completed. So the Govindji dictated and he wrote this commentary and he presented it, and Sri Vaishnavas were just stunned that within such a short duration that somebody...
It's impossible. I mean, you see, Srimad Bhagavatam is voluminous, right? Any commentary, it's not an easy task to produce it in such a short time. So he did that and he dedicated it to Govindji again. He called it Govinda Bhashya.
Why Govinda Bhashya? Because Govindji only dictated.
So
And
he said it's Govindji's commentary, not mine. So that is a very unique contribution, like very, very important contribution for our line actually.
You can also see that after the very first or second, not even, as soon as the title, the Srila Prabhupada dedicates this Bhagavad Gita to Baladev Vidya Bhushan. Because the most of the commentary or the purport is based on coming from Baladev Vidya Bhushan.
So after Balad, around the same time, Jagannath, not around the same time. Yeah, after that is Jagannath Das Babaji, and he's the one who ascertained. Okay, maybe we'll come to that. And his disciple was Bhakti Vinod Thakur. So Bhakti Vinod Thakur was in the 19th century. We are in the 19th century. He is a unique mix of scholarship and devotion. Actually, he was very, very learned in the English language, and he was a magistrate in the British government. So at that time, he was holding the highest position that any Indian can hold in the British government. He was. And he was very much loved by the British people also. So he actually wanted to give up everything and dedicate his life to Krishna consciousness, but the government won't let him go. They gave him so many things actually. Don't go, don't go. So
Even they built a train from his house to his office so that he can at least have motivation to work.
they didn't let him go. He wanted to quit. They didn't want to let him go actually. So yeah, he is the disciple of Jagannath Babaji, and it was him who actually discovered the birthplace of Lord Chaitanya. So Lord Chaitanya appeared about 3 or 4 centuries before Bhakti Vinod Thakur, and again after Lord Chaitanya disappeared, many of the things about him was lost. So he was the one who again discovered the birthplace, and he was the first one to actually try spreading these teachings in Western countries. So he was the first ever English book written on Lord Chaitanya was written on him, and he sent it to McGill University in China back in the 1800s. So he planted the seed for this worldwide revolution actually.
Canada.
Canada, yeah.
He sent to Canada and UK.
UK also, yes. And he was, during his vision actually, during his time, he had a vision that where he saw a very huge temple, and he saw both people from the east and west coming together and worshipping Lord Chaitanya there actually. I mean, if you see, that's kind of happening right now, you know. So this is the second indication that this was going to be a worldwide movement. The first prediction was by Lord Chaitanya himself. And then Bhakti Vinod Thakur's son was Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati, who is 31st in the line here. And his guru was Gaur Kishore Das Babaji. So very little is known about Gaur Kishore Das Babaji, so we'll probably skip for now. So Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Maharaj also, he was very fierce and uncompromising in his teaching. He defeated many Apasampradayas. So Apasampradaya is when these teachings are coming from people outside of the Sampradayas. That's when it becomes Apasampradaya. So he worked really hard to defeat all those. And he is the one who established, something called a Gaudiya Math. It's like 64 mathas. He made a formal institution, basically. And he also sent his sannyasis to England to preach, just like how Prabhupada came to America. He also did. So these were all kind of what happened before Prabhupada actually came. And then finally, it was his disciple was Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. So during his very first meeting with his guru, he got the instruction that he should preach in the English language. So very first time Prabhupada went to meet his guru, Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati, without, they didn't even have a formal meeting. He just looked at him and said, "You are an educated man, you should take the teachings of Krishna and spread it in English language." It's the very first instruction he got, and he always emphasized, if you have money, you print books and you distribute. And that's exactly what Srila Prabhupada has done. So this is how the parampara is. and how ISKCON fits into the Madhva Sampradaya. And this legacy is being continued by disciples of Srila Prabhupada, and it will go on in that way.
So this completes the introduction and the disciplic succession. So we are ready to start chapter 1. We thought we can read setting the scene, but it all depends. If you are well versed with Mahabharata, then we can skip it because we already read the setting the scene once. What do you want? Do you want to read it or you want to just go for the chapter 1? You quickly read it? Okay.
You know the same? Yeah.
Yeah. Now, before introduction, there is setting the scene.
Just 2 pages long.
This is very short.
Before
Just
the
be-
fifth page.
no, it should be there.
It's there.
It should be after the index. You can skip. Okay.
Before preface.
This we read on the very first class actually. Almost 4-5 months back we read.
You will read? You want to read it? Okay, you read it.
Okay.
Okay.
This gives the background before. See now. So the Bhagavad Gita was spoken just before the battle of Kurukshetra. So the setting the scene gives all the background of the differences between Pandavas and Kauravas and what led to the battle. So, yeah. So it gives a little bit of lineage on the Kuru dynasty, how Dhritarashtra and Pandavas were related. Okay, yes, sure. Okay, so we'll start with chapter 1. So, Bhagavad Gita has got 18 chapters and they are divided in 3 sections. So we are starting with the first chapter and section 1. This is based on when Bhagavad Gita was spoken, it was not like Krishna said, okay, I am now going to talk about chapter 2 or chapter 3. It was like a normal conversation that happened between Krishna and Arjuna. And the duration was around 45 minutes. But our acharyas have recorded them and they have put a section or they have given the title of the chapter. So there is no as such title or chapters while talking when they had a conversation. So we'll
Expert teacher, expert student.
So, see, the thing is that Arjuna was a well-learned scholar. Okay, so let's take a discussion. If 2 scientists are having a discussion, they can talk at a very, very high level actually, which if somebody has to at a very junior level has to understand, they cannot even understand, right? They need elaboration of each words. They can talk in some of the terms which may be not even known by some of the basic, like entry level kind of person. So that's where they can talk at a very high level. And why the Bhagavad Gita was spoken? Because Arjuna had doubt. He doesn't want to fight. So that's how it started, and Krishna clarified it, and then Arjuna surrendered to Krishna and he said, I am ready to fight now. So that easily can happen in 45 minutes. Okay.
Sections.
Yeah. Oops, it's not in project. Sorry, I thought it was getting projected. So this is the division of Bhagavad Gita. Chapter 1 to 6 is Karma Yoga. Chapter 7 to 12 is Bhakti Yoga, which is the main for devotees. Okay, and the last is the Jnana Yoga. So we'll start with chapter 1, which is called as Arjuna Vishada Yoga, which Prabhupada translates as basically Arjuna's doubts, which Prabhupada is translating as observing the armies on the battlefield of Kurukshetra. Here, one important thing here, you see here, the Bhakti Yoga, which is the key thing, has been discussed in the middle section. And our Acharya says is that, their interpretation is that, since that's the key, they want to preserve it from both sides. So that's where they say that keeping the analogy is given, the most important is kept in the middle. King traveling with his army is always kept in the middle and protected. So that is the analogy which our acharyas have interpreted, that why the Bhakti Yoga, which is the key, is kept in the middle of the.
Second point is also important. Bhakti gives life to Jnana and Karma. Otherwise, they don't have any meaning. That's why also it is in the middle.
So this is not a presentation. We are here to get a presentation for this. Okay. So the Prabhupada's Bhagavad Gita, as we saw, is prominently influenced by Sri Baladev Vidyabhushan and also based on the commentary of Vishnu. All these acharyas have written their own commentary, and Prabhupada has taken all those things into his purport. So, but it is mainly coming from Sri Baladev Vidyabhushan. We saw his pastime, right? How he wrote the Govinda Bhashya. This is the split of verses. Bhagavad Gita has got 700 verses. Most of them were spoken by Lord Krishna. Almost 82% of them, 574 verses, are from Krishna, which he is giving the knowledge to Arjuna. All the 84 questions, all the 84 verses from Arjuna are either doubt or his mood of surrender, whatever he is accepting the knowledge, what he gets from Krishna. We know about Sanjaya. He is the half brother of Dhritarashtra and Pandu. So he is the one who is having this Doordarshan or having the vision what's happening in the battle, and he is only one who is describing this to Dhritarashtra. And the very first verse, or the only one verse which Dhritarashtra spoke, is the first verse which you are going to read now. This is the first verse of the chapter 1. So, again, this is how our acharyas have interpreted and classified. So, the chapter 1 is divided into 2 sections. The verse 1 to 27 is an introduction, basically giving an overview of the war. From verse 28 onwards, Arjuna's doubts come into the picture. He starts saying, why should I fight? I should not kill my family members and friends. Till 46, he is going to only raise doubts and his inability to fight. From second chapter onwards, only Krishna is going to speak. So in the first chapters only, it is Dhritarashtra, Sanjaya and Arjuna who are only going to talk. So further section A, which is basically introduction and preparation of the war, is divided into 3 other sections, which is basically in the verse 1 to 13. Sanjaya is primarily, Dhritarashtra is raising the question, and then Sanjaya is going to give the description of the battlefield. So let's move on from, we'll come back to, I don't think so we can reach till verse 14 today. So that is, let's start with the verse 1. I hope so, yeah. So we can start. The format that we can follow is that you can see in the Bhagavad Gita, there is a Sanskrit verse and then followed by the equivalent English version of the verse. Then you have word to word meaning, then the translation and the purport. So the format where we will go is that we will recite the Sanskrit verse. You all can repeat, and then we'll read the meaning, and then we'll go to the in-depth. While reading the purport, we'll go to the in-depth discussion. Okay, so we'll read the verse 1.
Dhritarashtra Uvacha
Dhritarashtra Uvacha
Dharmakshetre Kurukshetre
Dharmakshetre Kurukshetre
Samaveta
Samaveta
Mamakaha Pandavashaiva
Mamakaha Pandavaschaiva
Kimma Kurvata Sanjaya.
Kimakurvata Sanjaya.
Translation. Dhritarashtra said, O Sanjaya, after my sons and the sons of Pandu assembled in the place of pilgrimage at Kurukshetra, desiring to fight, what did they do?
So we'll read the purport and not fully, but we'll keep going. As we read the purport, we'll have the explanation and the discussions.
Bhagavad Gita is the widely read theistic science summarized in the Gita Mahatmya or glorification of the Gita. There it says that one should read Bhagavad Gita very scrutinizingly with the help of a person who is a devotee of Sri Krishna and try to understand it without personally motivated interpretations. The example of clear understanding is there in the Bhagavad Gita itself, in the way the teaching is understood by Arjuna, who heard the Gita directly from the Lord. If someone is fortunate enough to understand the Bhagavad Gita in that line of disciplic succession without motivated interpretation, then he surpasses all studies of Vedic wisdom and all scriptures of the world. One will find in the Bhagavad Gita all that is contained in the other scriptures, but the reader will also find things which are not to be found elsewhere. That is specific standard of the Gita. It is the perfect theistic science because it is directly spoken by the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Sri Krishna.
So in the introduction, we ended the introduction with Gita Mahatmya. So Prabhupada again to have the continuation, he starts highlighting how Bhagavad Gita is placed among all the Vedic scriptures, and he is basically saying that the important point he is highlighting is that you should try to understand the Bhagavad Gita in the disciplic succession or try to learn from a devotee of a Krishna. And also when we had a discussion on the division of Vedas, again we had so many Vedas are there, what should I read? But here Prabhupada is clarifying, if you read Bhagavad Gita, that is more than enough for us, because what it contains may not be contained in the other Vedas also. So that's how he starts very generically, just to have a connection between the introduction and to his purport in the very first verse. Anything?
The topics discussed by Dhritarashtra and Sanjaya, as described in the Mahabharata, form the basic principle for this great philosophy. It is understood that this philosophy evolved on the battlefield of Kurukshetra, which is a sacred place of pilgrimage, from the immemorial time of the Vedic age. It was spoken by the Lord when he was present personally on this planet for the guidance of mankind. The word Dharmakshetra, a place where religious rituals are performed, is significant because on the battlefield of Kurukshetra, the Supreme Personality of Godhead was present on the side of Arjuna. Dhritarashtra, the father of the Kurus, was highly doubtful about the possibility of his son's ultimate victory. In his doubt, he inquired from his secretary Sanjay. What did they do? He was confident that both his sons and the sons of his younger brother Pandu were assembled in the field of Kurukshetra for a determined engagement of the war. Still, his inquiry is significant. He did not want a compromise between the cousins and brothers, and he wanted to be sure of the fate of his sons on the battlefield. Because the battle was arranged to be fought at Kurukshetra, which is mentioned elsewhere in the Vedas as a place of worship, even for the denizens of heaven, Dhritarashtra became very fearful about the influence of the holy place on the outcome of the battle. He knew very well that this would influence Arjuna and the sons of Pandu favorably, because by nature they were all virtuous. Sanjaya was a student of Vyasa, and therefore, by the mercy of Vyasa, Sanjay was able to envision the battlefield of Kurukshetra even while he was in the room of Dhritarashtra. And so, Dhritarashtra asked him about the situation on the battlefield.
So here Dhritarashtra is asking a question. This is the only verse he is speaking. Okay, he is starting with the word Dharma Kshetre Kurukshetre. So the place Kurukshetra is defined as a Dharma Kshetra. So why that the word Dharma Kshetra is important? Because Dhritarashtra knew that his sons were not righteous or they were not pious at that time. Okay, the place also has the influence on the persons. Okay, like if you bring a drunkard or if ask him to come to a temple or some other place or a police station, he will behave totally differently. Like he'll be having a fear or he'll feel him out of place. But if he goes into the bar, you will see him, he's fully excited and, and things like that. All his energy will come back. Similarly, here Dhritarashtra mentioning on the Dharma Kshetra is has some significance because he knew that he and his sons were not right because they were not even shared, not even half of the kingdom, not even that. We saw in the preface setting the scene, right? They were Duryodhana said that you will not even give a piece of land where you can even poke a pin. So that's where the significance of the Dharma Kshetra is on the influence that it will have on his sons. His enquiry here, Prabhupada is asking, also saying that he is asking, my sons and the Pandavas are assembled on the Kurukshetra to fight. What did they do? That question itself is something like obvious. If they have assembled to fight, they are going to fight. Why this question is being asked? Because he knew that his son's victory is highly impossible because the influence of the holy place will be there on his son's outcomes on the war. It is mentioned that the place Kurukshetra is the place where Bhrigu Muni and performed his some sacrifice. How it has holy place, the significance, and also Lord Parshuram. Lord Parshuram, what he did, he killed so many Kshatriyas, right? So that is a place where he went and performed his atonement. So that's some of the significance why it is the holy place. We know the holy place of Vrindavan, Tirupati, or Mayapur or Jagannath Puri. The significance of Kurukshetra is that's why it is a holy place.
So here Prabhupada also explains in one of his lectures that even though Dhritarashtra at heart, he knew that what they were doing was not right, still he wanted to go ahead with the plan. So, here it said, right, he didn't want a compromise actually. In his heart he had the fear that, everything, all signs are opposite. It's a holy place and these people are not holy and Supreme Personality of Godhead is on the other side, right? So he knew, in his heart he knew what they are doing is not right, but still, this is the way of materialistic people. Even though they know what they are doing is wrong, they are still so attached that they want to go ahead, even though they know that in the long run it's not going to be good for us. So this is a typical, so Dhritarashtra is acting like a typical materialistically attached man, actually. Both the Pandavas and the sons of Dhritarashtra belong to the same family, but Dhritarashtra's mind is disclosed herein. He deliberately claimed only his sons as Kurus, and he separated the sons of Pandu from the family heritage. Thus, one can thus understand the specific position of Dhritarashtra in his relationship with his nephews, the sons of Pandu. So here again, Prabhupada is showing us how Dhritarashtra is biased actually. So a king is supposed to be equal to every living entity in that kingdom. Actually, the word praja, by what do we mean by praja actually? Yeah, and that's our understanding. But actually, praja means any living entity that's born in that land, that's ruled by king. Prabhupada says any animals, the cows, snakes, insects, birds, fish, everything is praja actually. And it's the king's duty to protect everybody. He should be equally disposed to all living entities, not only humans. But in contrast, we see here Dhritarashtra is not even equally disposed to human beings and to that too to his own family members. So that itself shows that he has no qualification for being a king. See, many a times people actually question, right? Dhritarashtra was the eldest son, so what if he was blind? He is the rightful king. And you know why Krishna orchestrated this whole battle and okay, even say he somehow or other he was acting as a king. Why not let his sons be the king? They are the rightful heirs, right? But this is the thing, the qualification also matters. You know, in the Vedas, king is called as Naradeva. That is God in the form of a human being. Like just like how God is equal to everybody, a king is also supposed to be equal to everybody. That's the right king. But if we see here, Dhritarashtra and his sons, they had done so much, you know, so much conspiracies to kill their own brothers. What to speak of other people in other kingdoms? They even went as much as to try to disrobe Draupadi. I mean, what kind of religious principles are they upholding? You know, and that's the reason why Krishna was so intent on replacing Dhritarashtra and Duryodhana. It's not just for the sake of getting kingdom back for these people. That was, of course, that was also the intent. But the main intent was to replace irreligious kings with the religious kings, who was Yudhishthira.
So since I hope most of you will be aware of this family lineage, but just to go through, because here there is a relationship, how the descent of the Kuru dynasty is mentioned is Shantanu, you know, is the father of Bhishma, and Bhishma is born from Ganga Devi, and then Vichitra Virya. Okay, so he is born from Satyavati and Shantanu, and Dhritarashtra and Pandu are the sons of Vichitra Virya. And now, since Dhritarashtra was born blind, Pandu was made the king of the Kuru dynasty. But after Pandu passed away, since all the Pandavas and the Dhritarashtra's son were so young, so the Dhritarashtra was made the king, right? But it was under the term that once the Pandavas grow up, they will be made the king. But,
He's only filling up.
yeah, he's only filling up the place because he is incapable. Because how a blind can rule the kingdom. Right? So, but he is so attached to his sons and his post that he never gives that up. And not only that, he creates so many atrocities and on the Pandavas that they sent on exile or disrobing of Draupadi, and he just witnessed all of
Tried
them.
to kill them so many times. Even as children, right? Duryodhana tried to kill him. Poison Bhima, he had him thrown in the river. So many things he did, even right from childhood.
So now also, because why? Because some of the names we are going to hear in the subsequent verses, because Duryodhana is going to come and ask and come and stake the situation of the battlefield. So, any questions on this in the family lineage? This most of you might be aware of it, just for reference that we have. Huh?
Karna is here.
So we'll read the further translations.
As in the paddy field, the unnecessary plants are taken out, so it is expected from the very beginning of these topics that in the religious field of Kurukshetra, where the father of religion, Sri Krishna, was present, the unwanted plants like Dhritarashtra's son, Duryodhana, and others would be wiped out, and the thoroughly religious persons, headed by Yudhishthir, would be established by the Lord. This is the significance of the words Dharma Kshetre and Kurukshetre. apart from their historical and Vedic importance.
So here the word Kshetra is being used. The Kshetra is also translated into field, right? And here the analogy which some of our Acharya interprets, that Baladev Vidyabhushan interprets this as a considers a paddy field. In a paddy field, you will try to grow the paddy, but also you will get weeds, right? What does the farmer does? He comes and weeds out the weeds, right? So similarly here, what Prabhupada is mentioning that, similarly, the Kauravas were like the weeds, and Krishna is personally present to weed them out from that field actually. So that's where the Kshetra has been almost used twice, right? It's used twice, Dharma Kshetri, Kurukshetri. That's another analogy some of our acharyas are trying to interpret on this. Supreme Personality of Godhead. Yeah.
Text 2. Sanjaya Uvacha
Sanjaya Uvacha
Drishtva tu Pandavanekam
Drishtavanu Pandavanikam
Vyudham Duryodhanastada
Yodam Duryodhanastada
Acharyam Upasangamya
Acharyam Upasangamya
Raja Vachanam Abravit.
Raja Vachanam Abhavit.
Sanjaya said, O king, after looking over the army arranged in military formation by the sons of Pandu, King Duryodhana went to his teacher and spoke the following words. Purport. Dhritarashtra was blind from birth. Unfortunately, he was also bereft of spiritual vision. He knew very well that his sons were equally blind in the matter of religion, and he was sure they could never reach an understanding with the Pandavas, who were all pious since birth. Still, he was doubtful about the influence of the place of pilgrimage, and Sanjaya could understand his motive in asking about the situation on the battlefield. Sanjaya wanted therefore to encourage the despondent king, and thus assured him that his sons were not going to make any sort of compromise under the influence of holy place. Sanjaya therefore informed the king that his son Duryodhana, after seeing the military force of Pandavas, at once went to the commander-in-chief Dronacharya to inform him of the real position. Although Duryodhana is mentioned as the king, he still had to go to the commander on account of the seriousness of the situation. He was therefore quite fit to be a politician. But Duryodhana's diplomatic veneer could not disguise the fear he felt when he saw the military arrangement of the Pandavas.
So this verse is now spoken by Sanjaya, and he is giving the description of the battlefield to Dhritarashtra in the palace. So here, though Duryodhana was not a king, still he was addressed as a king just to please Dhritarashtra, so that he has his doubt in his mind, right, that his sons are never going to win. Just to please him, let's say, okay, he's calling Duryodhana as a king.
So actually Duryodhana was really surprised that Pandavas could arrange such a nice army. Because 14 years they were in exile, 14 plus 1. They had no kingdom, no money, and 14 years they were gone, no relations. But still, he was very, very surprised that they could gather such a huge army, actually. They were actually less than Kauravas. Kauravas had 11 Akshohinis, whereas Pandavas had only 7 Akshohinis. So Akshohini is again, it's a military formation where, you see the last.
Okay.
Yeah, it has several tens of thousands of chariots, elephants, soldiers, and if you see the last line, right, it has, and Akshohini means 21,000 chariots, 21,000 elephants, 63,000 soldiers, and so on. So Kaurava side had 11 such Akshohinis, whereas Pandavas only had 7. But still, those 7 were very expertly arranged, and that Duryodhana himself was very surprised how they could arrange so well actually. And that instilled fear in him already. And just to hide up his fear, he's going to do a pep talk now. Yeah.
So you can think actually like in a current day military, how do you have a battalion, so you have where you have certain number of foot soldiers, tanks. So similarly, you have in those terms, and you can also see it again. These are of not much significance from the scriptural understand point of view, but again, so some of the unit or gradations. Like if you Akshogani will have 21,870 chariots and elephants. So similarly, if you see, there is a just gradation of how the formation of the army is made. So anything now again on the first chapter, at least few verses, we are just going to not to have any philosophy coming into the picture. It is just the history is now coming out actually.
Yeah, 3 times.
Yeah.
3 times. Everything is 3 times the previous one.
And soldiers are 5 times.
5 times, yes. Yeah. Text 3.
Yeah, text 3.
पश्येतां पाण्डुपुत्राणाम्
पश्येतां पाण्डुपुत्राणाम्
आचार्या महतीं च मूं
आचार्या महतीं च मूं
व्यूढां द्रुपदपुत्रेण
व्यूढां द्रुपदपुत्रेण
तव शिष्येण धीमता.
तव शिष्येन धीमता.
O my teacher, behold the great army of the sons of Pandu, so expertly arranged by your intelligent disciple, the son of Drupada.
So who is speaking this? Duryodhana. And he is speaking to his Acharya Dronacharya. Okay. So here, okay, I think let's read the purport and then we'll come back to the explanation. Let's read the purport.
Duryodhana, a great diplomat, wanted to point out the defects of Dronacharya, the great Brahmana commander-in-chief. Dronacharya had some political quarrel with King Drupada, the father of Draupadi, who was Arjuna's wife. As a result of this quarrel, Drupada performed a great sacrifice by which he received the benediction of having a son who would be able to kill Dronacharya. Dronacharya knew this perfectly well, and yet, as a liberal Brahmana, he did not hesitate to impart all his military secrets when the son of Drupada, Drishtadyumna, was entrusted to him for military education. Now, on the battlefield of Kurukshetra, Drishtadyumna took the side of the Pandavas, and it was he who arranged for their military phalanx, after having learned the art from Dronacharya. Duryodhana pointed out this mistake of Dronacharya's so that he might be alert and uncompromising in the fighting. By this, he wanted to point out also that he should not be similarly lenient in battle against the Pandavas, who were also Dronacharya's affectionate students. Arjuna especially was his most affectionate and brilliant student. Duryodhana also warned that such leniency in the fight would lead to defeat.
So this is Duryodhana approaching Dronacharya. Here, what we need to note down here is that here he is addressing Drishtadyumna as Drupada Putra. If you all know, there has been some animosity between Drupada and Dronacharya. You all know. So he is purposefully, rather than addressing as Drishtadyumna, he is addressing as Drupada Putra. So that Dronacharya, because of animosity, the Dronacharya blood will boil, right? And so that's why he's instigating him. Also taking the stake of the situation, he's purposefully addressing as Drupada Putra.
And also finding fault with him that, you have trained the son of an enemy, basically, because Drishtadyumna was his disciple also. Yeah.
So in spite of the Drishtadyumna being the son of an enemy, Dronacharya still taught him. Why? Because the Brahmana's primary duty is to impart education, irrespective of whom you are giving. So he did that duty, and he is already Duryodhana being a politician. See, Prabhupada is pointing Duryodhana as a great diplomat. So he is playing that diplomacy here. He's saying that why did you teach him? Because of your teachings, he is now arranged the army in such a way that it looks now Duryodhana is fearing how the way he has arranged, and who it is coming from. From Drishtadyumna, who Dronacharya has trained in spite of knowing his father having so much of animosity between both of them actually.
So he's the commander on the Pandava side.
Yeah. The Drishtadyumna is the commander on the Pandava side, and he only has did this arrangement of the army on his side. And on the Kaurava side, it is the Dronacharya. This is Dronacharya. So let's see the verse.
What about this being lenient?
Yeah, because Arjuna was Dronacharya's favorite, right?
Oh, because of that. Okay.
Yes.
And you also know the king,
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, the leniency part also is being also covered here. So yeah, basically indirectly he's telling that you have to fight, you have to get up and fight. You cannot afford to be lenient with your favorite students, and plus your enemy is also there. So you have to be really, you have to be into fighting. Text 4.
Yeah.
Atra shura mahashvesha
Atra Shudra Mahasi
Bhimarjuna samayudhi
Bhimarjuna Samayudhi
Yuyudhano viratascha
Yuyudhano Vidharashta
Drupadascha maharathaha.
Drupadasya Maharata.
Here in this army are many heroic bowmen, equal in fighting to Bhima and Arjuna, great fighters like Yuyudhan and Virat and Drupada. Purport: even though Drishtadyumna was not a very important obstacle in the face of Dronacharya's very great power in military art, there were many others who were causes of fear. They are mentioned by Duryodhan as great stumbling blocks on the path of victory, because each and every one of them was as formidable as Bhima and Arjuna. He knew the strength of Bhima and Arjuna, and thus he compared the others with them.
So here Duryodhana is again taking the stock of the situations on the opposing army. So he is now mentioning all the warriors that he could see. Okay, and he's especially pointing out Bhima and Duryodhana. Yeah, Bhima and Arjuna, but Duryodhana has always see Bhima as his rival actually. There are many instances. So, and they both were trained by Lord Balram himself actually. So they both are equally trained by Lord Balram. So that's where he is mentioning Bhima's name and Arjuna's name. Do you know anything on the? Frankly, we don't know. We'll just figure fine.
Yeah, actually, for this battlefield, all the kings from all over the world had come. Yes, so, yeah, these are all powerful kings actually. They have come from we don't know where. Okay. Text 5. Drishtaketushchekitanah
Drishtaketujanah
Kashirajascha Viryavan
Kashirajasya Viryavan
Purujit Kunti Bhojascha
Purujit Kunti Bodhasya
Shaivyascha Narapungavaha.
Saivasya Narapungava.
There are also great heroic, powerful fighters like Drishtaketu, Chekitan, Kashiraj, Purujit, Kuntibhoja, and Shaibya.
This is pretty much.
Yeah. Yeah. So Srila Prabhupada here for this the lecture on this verse, he explains the same thing. You know, these are the kings from all over the world, not just from the tract of land that we call India today. These were from all over the place. And I remember he saying that Shaibya comes somewhere from the region of Syria. I mean, it looks like there is a book which talks about the personalities of Mahabharata and from which part of the world they were. So yeah, they were not just from India; they were from all over the place.
Not from China.
Who?
No, earlier everything was Bharatvarsha. Everything was Bharatvarsha.
The whole universe, the whole world, whole
face of
world.
the earth.
Yeah.
Everything was Bharatvarsha. It's said somewhere actually that when Parshuram was he went around destroying the Kshatriyas, right? So many Kshatriyas actually fled to the region of the Caspian Sea. You know, there's somewhere in the Shastras, I forget the reference, there is a mention of a landlocked sea. That's the Caspian Sea, right? It's landlocked. Somewhere in around Europe, up there, somewhere in Europe. So many kings actually ran towards it. That's why Germans claim that they are Aryans, right? Germans claim, right, that Aryan civilization, when, as we know, according to the books in history, we say that the Aryan culture came from there actually. But actually, Aryan is our culture. They falsely claim that they are Aryans because like their roots are from here actually. Yeah. But there was monarchy. The ruler was at Hastinapur, which is New Delhi right now. And Kurus were the rulers of the world. There was monarchy. And all these kings, we call them kings, they were like the sub-kings. They rule under the ruler of Hastinapur, whoever that is. Dhritarashtra, Yudhishthira, whoever it was. So earlier it was like that.
So, in all these, the verses till we read now. All the verses till we read now, what we see here now is that Duryodhana is very anxious about the outcome, right? In spite of knowing that he has lesser army, Pandavas has lesser army and he has got more army, but still he is anxious. He's trying to take the things very materially, comparing, okay, who are the commanders and chiefs on the other side. But one thing that he is really missing is that is the holy place, and Lord Krishna is there with the Pandavas, and Kauravas only got his army, and there is also how the happened, right? Both Arjuna and Duryodhana, they both went to seek help of Krishna, and Duryodhana was the first to go, in fact, and he sat on when Krishna was sleeping, he sat on Arjuna's head side, Krishna's head side, and Arjuna went and sat on Arjuna's feet side, and as soon as Krishna woke up, he was able to see Arjuna. And then later he realized, okay, Duryodhana is also there. And he asked, okay, they both came for help. And then Krishna says, I saw you, Arjuna gets the first chance because I saw him first. And then Arjuna says that, Krishna, I want you to be part of this battle actually. And Duryodhana was very happy at that time, thinking that I never wanted Krishna to be on my side. I only wanted Krishna's army, so I already got my Krishna's army. So I am so happy that he cleverly took Krishna and I got all the army. So that's exactly. So here, in these verses, what we see here now that. Duryodhana is trying to compare it at a materialistic term, thinking, okay, I'm comparing with the physical power strength, but he is not having that vision that the Krishna is there with him, and the ultimate victory is going to be coming because of the presence of Krishna on Pandava's side, actually.
I have to leave. I have to leave the Sunday school, so I have to leave.
Yeah, we'll also be.
Supposing Arjuna, just because he saw him first,
See, that is more from what you see from the circumstance perspective. That though Krishna saw Arjuna first, but again, even if the Duryodhana gets a chance first, he would have asked for Krishna's army only. Even let's say that if Duryodhana gets, yeah, regardless of whatever he did it. And moreover, Arjuna is a devotee of Krishna. That is most important here actually. It is, say, sometimes our Acharya says, see, the term Krishna consciousness is very important, okay? Duryodhana had Krishna, but he had no consciousness of him actually. Duryodhana was also present, right? He could have also taken Krishna's help, right? But he never took it. Exactly. So he had Krishna but no consciousness. On the other side, some people will have consciousness but no Krishna. Like, so both the term are very important. Even in the presence of the Supreme, some people are very fortunate that they were so close to Krishna but they were never able to get or even have an understanding that he is the Supreme Personality of God.
Yeah, that was my question. Does people like back in the day, did they have that knowledge that he's the supreme personality?
Yeah.
At least heard that he killed Kamsa and Putna and all those.
Right. Right. So they, if you read the Krishna's pastime, the Krishna book, when Krishna, when Krishna goes from Vrindavan to Mathura, you see how different people behave differently. There was one Brahmin who knew that he is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, coming along with his first expansion, Balaram. So he worships Krishna. But there are other persons who behaves very differently. They see him as an intruder. Or you see the pastime where when Krishna comes from Vrindavan to Mathura, so the first he is greeted by Brahmanas. Who knows that he is the Supreme Personality of Godhead? But there is also a washerman. Have you heard that pastime? When he comes, Krishna asks, "Hey, can I have some clothes that I can wear?" But he says that, "Who are you? Why should I give you the clothes?" and things like that. And he doesn't have that fair understanding that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of God. But that comes from if you are practicing the devotional service, then you will get to have an understanding of that. Even when Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was there are past times. No, not many people recognize that he is the. See, in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says that Avajananti Mamoda Manishun Tanumashritam. So he comes in a human form, but people just compare him like just an ordinary human actually. They cannot have that understanding that he is the Supreme Personality of Godhead.
But at least Duryodhana, he might have heard, stories about Krishna feeling demons.
Right, but it all starts with the basic faith, right? If you don't have, we may also hear many things, right? But it's up to you how you want to. Yeah, it's conditioning, how we have conditioning actually. Right.
Actually, Duryodhana has more faith on the army than Krishna.
Right.
That's why he is quick. So it is faith, right?
Yeah. But still now you see here is that still he is checking. In spite, we saw that, right? Pandavas have only 7 Akshognis and he has 11 Akshognis. And all the Maharathis like Bhishma. In fact, it is said that Bhishma was the most powerful commander actually. Nobody can even, if he wants, he can finish the whole army himself actually. So in spite of having so many warriors, still he lost. Because Krishna is on the other side. And he's still anxious materially at what is going to be his fate. Okay, so we will end here almost, I think.
And
Mhm.
most of the athletes, they have Srila before the name. So what exactly is Srila?
Srila is kind of a title that is given to the acharyas. So even Sripad, some Srila is one form which is mostly used in the Gaudiya Vaishnavism.
I need to go to the class.
Yes, you go. Yeah. So if you go to the south, they use the Sripad, like how Sri, like right, Sri, how you use generally address the people as Sri. So similarly, Sri, that is the title they give it for used for the acharyas. Actually.
Doctorate.
Hey, Srila Prabhupada. So now in the first, these verses we will just see the history. That is, philosophy is going to come almost after Arjuna raises some of his doubts. His doubts are based on some of his incomplete understanding of the philosophy, where he is going to say, why should I kill my family? So till that, now we'll see only the historical and the personality introduction only in all these verses we are going to see now.
They are fighting because of they